starting a podcast. What's your advice? Where do I start? This is a question I see a lot. I get asked it a lot and I see it a lot on social media. So I thought this is obviously something I need to address on my podcast. So make sure you've listened to my previous podcast episode because this one is part 2. Part 1 is getting clear on your strategy. It is laying the foundations. Do not skip that. Please go back and listen to that. This is part 2. So stick around. This is the nuts and bolts of how to start your podcast. Welcome to Magnetic Pod. If you are looking to attract your soul clients while doing the work you love, this show is for you. Hi, I'm Olivia D'Souza. I'm a podcast manager and content repurposing specialist. The Magnetic Pod Show is about attracting your soul pod of clients through podcasting. It will also include things that can be applied to other areas of your marketing strategy too. Hit subscribe to join me in calling in the people we are here to help. Let's make a massive impact.
I am here and I'm ready to be brave. Cannot miss me, I'll stand on every stage. I'm available for my destiny to reach my people.
All right, before we dive into it, don't forget to hit subscribe so you don't miss any of the tips and strategies on how to have a podcast that generates leads for you and helps you kick some goals. Okay, first up, let's give it a name. What are you going to call your podcast? So unless you're famous, I would recommend giving it something that makes it clear to what it's about. When you've built up a bit of a name for yourself and you're getting tens to hundreds of thousands of downloads, then you can go ahead and call it the Mary Jane Show or whatever your name is. But for now, maybe just give it a name that makes it clear what it's about so that people will click on it. Okay, and preferably SEO friendly, but at least gives it an idea of what it's about, and also put that in your description as well. Think about keywords, the kind of words that people would search that might get you found, and make it clear what your podcast is about so that people who don't know you from a bar of soap actually click. All right, then the next bit is the equipment. Now, you could just start and talk into your phone. That can be frowned upon. I've seen other podcast producers go, red flag if anyone sees that. And really, yes, it's a lot nicer to have a microphone. But saying that, I have edited quite a number of podcasts and meditations for people where they just haven't had it and they've just spoken into their phone. And the phones are pretty good these days. So as long as they were in a room with soft coverings, and if you are doing it into your phone, hold it like you're talking on the phone. Don't have the microphone pointing at your mouth, but rather hold it as though you're talking on the phone so that you get less of the P's and B's type of effect. But ideally go and get the right microphones and stuff. So that part is easy. Just go to the show notes and download my podcast must-have tech list. All right, so the next thing to think about is artwork. Now, you could get someone to do that for you, and my business does that, so you can reach out to me, or you might have a graphic artist or something that you use, but otherwise just get on Canva and make something yourself. But the thing to think about is don't have it cluttered, make it look nice when it's big, but for heaven's sake, please shrink it down. Look at it. What I do actually, what I've done with clients is I actually do a mock-up where I take a screenshot on my phone of what it looks like on Apple, but then instead of the pictures that are on the podcast app, I'll put the mock-up of their artwork instead so they can see it against other artwork and they can see what stands out when it's that small. So just put as little as possible that needs to be on there to convey what the podcast is about, and that's it. Keep it simple. Next is to choose a distributor. Now, don't agonise over this too much as long as they're fairly good quality. I like Buzzsprout. That's who I use now, and I just really like the platform. I like the stats how it's set up. I find the tech support is very quick. Libsyn, I don't use that myself, but I know that I regularly hear it in podcast circles and it has a good reputation, so I'd be quite confident if you use that one. Now, Anchor is a controversial one. I think it's okay. But there are podcast producers that vehemently would recommend you don't use it. There's been a bit of a controversy, and a rumour persists that they own your IP, that they own your podcast episodes. They have categorically told me that's not the case, and there's somewhere in the terms and conditions that says that they don't own your stuff. So I'd recommend keeping a backup of your stuff no matter who you go with anyway. They've got an inbuilt editing system in Anchor. It's very limited and it's a bit clunky. If you want to be able to balance tracks and smooth things out or just delete bits, it's clunky. But you don't need to use the editing system. You could use just the hosting. I have heard some podcast producers just say, oh, don't trust anything that's free. So you might want to take that on board. But I've had quite a number of clients over a number of years on Anchor and nothing bad's happened. Okay, but I like Buzzsprout personally. And they're about $12 a month US, so that doesn't break the bank. Okay, all right, so apart from that, you need to edit. Now, I can't go into a podcast episode and tell you how to edit. You can reach out to me if you want tutorials, or even better, outsource. I actually do believe that is ideal if you can to outsource, because I just believe if you're running a business, not to try and do everything yourself and to use your time on the things that move the needle forward. And if someone else can do something that you don't need to do and you can be doing something more important that brings money into your business, then do that. That is why I created my business, because I truly, hand on heart, believe in making life easier for entrepreneurs and helping them reach their goals. So that's why I provide a done-for-you service, which includes doing the social media snippets, audiograms, and repurposing onto TikTok and Reels and graphics and all of those things. However, if you want to do it yourself, then a couple of freebies that are quite popular is GarageBand if you've got a Mac, Audacity if you've got a PC, Adobe Audition's a good one as well, but that's paid. But if you can, outsource. Then the next thing would be to record a trailer episode. Now, the reason to record a trailer episode, besides giving people a bit of a teaser about your podcast, is that it gets it published. What I mean by that is you've chosen a host, right? And you fill in all the bits that it says to fill in, put a good description that has some keywords in there. But you cannot publish it in terms of distributing it to all of the platforms like Apple and Spotify and Stitcher and Google Play and all the rest until you have something up there. And if you want to promote your podcast and say it's launching on a particular day, you can't know what that day will be until the first episode is published. So make that first episode a trailer that is just like a teaser. So what I do, like basically what I do with all my clients, is that the trailer episode is also the exact same thing that we use as their intro on their podcast. You can do a trailer episode in a different way. If you're going to record a number of episodes, then you can do little snippets from those episodes of highlights and make that your trailer. But for most, it works out really simply and easily to just do two things at once and just record your intro, which is also your trailer. So I have a template you can follow. It's in the show notes. You can download it. But the template basically shows you the things that you've got to cover off in your intro. So you can follow my template and add your own flavour and personality to it. But you want to include things like your podcast name, who it's for, who you are, what the podcast is about, and a call to action. So those are the points you want to hit. Okay, once you've done that, you distribute it everywhere. Now, this bit is tedious. So one hot tip, if you are not an Apple person, like if you don't have an iPhone or a Mac, then if you do have an iPhone or a Mac, you'll already have this sorted. But if you don't, make sure that you create an Apple account and put your payment details in there. You're not going to have to pay anything because you're not going to buy anything, but you need to have your payment details against your Apple account or you can't create your Apple podcast account. So that's important. Get that sorted, okay? And then to distribute it to all the platforms, you basically go to whatever your hosting platform is that you've chosen, Buzzsprout or whatever, and they'll have links to all the platforms. And then you go to each one and you copy and paste your RSS feed, which is like a URL. It's the thing that pushes your podcast out to all these different places. You have to copy and paste that to each of the websites and in your email address and follow whatever instructions they have there. It's tedious and they might have slightly different things and slightly different hoops that you have to jump through, but that's basically you go through and follow the instructions which each host will have there when you do that. So the other tip I would say is to go back in a few days and check again. For example, you could be waiting for it to come up on Apple and then find that it's sitting there not going anywhere because you haven't filled in one field exactly perfectly correctly the way they expect. So you can send up follow-up emails to see how things are going. Pandora is a podcast platform that is notoriously slow and needs a bit of a push and an email to actually hit publish. So that is a bit of a tedious process. So that again is a service that I do. So if you want me to just do it for you, just reach out and ask. You can contact me via the show notes. And then once you've got all that done, you can have a podcast party, which is basically get your supporters and get them to jump on when it's published and subscribe, rate and review and listen. So it's ideal to have a few podcast episodes. I think 5 is a good number to really get people listening and help give the signals that people are listening, but at least 3 would be good. So again, if you need help with launching and doing that, I can do a basic setup where I do all the tech stuff for you and just get you up and running through all the way through to a grand opening launch where we do everything and stack everything in your favor to get you ranked on Apple. So I've had clients rank number 1 in their niche. So as long as you follow all the instructions and do all the things, we can stack all the odds in your favor for that. So reach out if you want help with that. And that's basically it. So make sure you hit subscribe so you don't miss any more of these tips and tricks on how to have a successful podcast that helps you reach your goals. And remember to download the list of the equipment that you need in my show notes. And also I've got the intro/trailer template in the show notes as well. I have a workshop coming up which teaches all of this so you can get clear on your podcast. It goes much deeper and we can talk about you and your individual circumstances in that workshop. If you want to get in on that, message me on Instagram, message me the word workshop. My Instagram handle is Livy Music Media. That's LIVVI Music Media. And I will see you in the next episode. Happy podcasting. Bye.
I am here and I'm ready to be brave. Cannot miss me, I'll stand on every stage. I'm available for my destiny to reach my people. Gonna be a star, so if you pass on me, that's a shame for you, but I'm fine.
Hello, it's Livy here. Have you ever wondered about what the key elements are that make a podcast truly stand out? Or maybe you're thinking about starting your own special podcast and feel a bit overwhelmed and don't know where to start. Well, I have something for you. Introducing the ultimate podcast checklist. Da, 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 da. It's a step-by-step guide that covers everything from the initial brainstorming to advanced growth strategies. It's the perfect companion for both new and seasoned podcasters. And the best part, it's absolutely free. Da, 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 da. To grab your copy, simply head to the show notes of this episode and you will find a direct link there, and then away you go. Remember, every podcast started with that initial spark and the right resource, so let the ultimate podcasting checklist be yours.